truth must be recognized by the black man.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he wanted me to speak for all black people. Think for the whole and speak for the whole. Here's the way I want you to think. If we have 30 million people eating a slice of bread per meal, that's 90 million slices of bread per day. 630 million slices of bread per week. 37,760,000,000 slices of bread per year. How much land must we have under wheat cultivation to give our people their daily bread? Then he said, move on to milk. How much land must we have? How many cows must we own? How much grazing land must we have to give our people a glass of milk with every meal? How many sheep must we have, and how much grazing land must we have to give our people a lamb chop? I didn't say pork chop. Lamb chops. They ain't got to rob nobody. You gotta own the means of production. Then all your businesses will spring up. How much land must we have to give our people a requirement of spinach or broccoli or carrots, cauliflower, onions, garlic, string beans? All the things that help us. We've got to know just what it takes to feed an entire people. That means how much clay land must we have in order to make bricks to start building houses? How much forest land must we have to cut down the trees and make wood to build homes? And we have to have land, and there is no compromising this.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man.
But the word economics comes from the Greek eikonomikos, but it has come to be defined as the science of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, or the material welfare of humanity. Now, a blueprint is something defined that acts as a plan, a model, or something providing guidance. An economic blueprint is exactly what we... 1, 2, 3. Doctor, you in the house? Lawyer, you in the house? Teacher, you in the house? Preacher, you in the house? Tell me something. If you don't eat well, how long will you practice law? If you don't eat well, you become the patient, doctor. So don't look down on a farmer, look up to a farmer, because today it will be us farming our own land, producing our own food that will save our lives. Hurts me to travel and see us so dependent on others for the basic necessities of life, when the richness of our land is there to produce all that we need and then some.
We're getting ready to do a little walk. Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The truth must be recognized by the black man.
We are an international people. Our brothers and sisters are all over the world, desirous of doing business with us. But if we are not producing anything, we can't enter into trade and commerce with the nations of the earth. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in Message to a Black Man, quote, as a people, we must become producers
and not remain consumers and employees. We must be able to extract raw materials from the earth and manufacture them into something useful for ourselves. This would create jobs in production. We must remember that without land, there is no production. And the surplus of what we produce, we would sell. This would help develop a field of commerce and trade as other free and independent people whose population is less than that of ours, so-called Negroes. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
We're talking about revolution because that's the era that you're caught in. You're caught in a revolutionary era.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined some basic principles. Number one, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation. Do you understand that if we can work together as a group in unity, we will be more successful, more powerful, more able to do the things that as individuals working by ourselves we have never been able to do. Pool your resources physically as well as financially. Stop wanton criticism of everything that is black owned and operated. Keep in mind that jealousy destroys from within. Observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. Now, these are things that we must do. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to commit to save 5 cents a day. He said if we can save just 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week for 52 weeks in the year, that would mean we would put aside $13 a year that we could save in a national savings treasury. At that time that he wrote this, we numbered 22 million people and approximately 5 million were wage earners. Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year. At the rate of 25 cents per week, it would be painless. Today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
Greetings, listeners. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad. And I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning, inshallah. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. You can also send WhatsApp messages directly to me on 332-0214. And you can go to the social media pages of the Street 919 FM and follow the program in studio. So, beloved family, another week in Trinidad and Tobago. Another blessed week in many ways because we are here. Allah has spared our lives in what these days seems to be a land of death and thoughtlessness and lack of compassion and lack of caring, and everyone blaming someone else for problems that they themselves must take responsibility for. That seems to be our newly emerging culture. But we continue to struggle. I want to thank everyone listening this morning who attended African Unity Conference 2023 in commemoration of African Liberation Day last week, Saturday, at the Kwame Ture Center. I want to express heartfelt thanks from the depth of my heart that we can pack out that relatively large auditorium at the Kwame Ture Center with much more people than chairs, and we have hundreds of chairs that we own ourselves. We had to rent chairs when we were opening the Kwame Ture Center 5 years ago. We had to rent chairs. We had to rent air-conditioned units. We had to put all types of last-minute systems in place. But 5 years later, everything inside the building is what we own. And now 9 air-conditioned units. When we opened the building, we had 3. All the equipment, all the furniture, all the fittings, all the books, all of the infrastructure belongs to us, which we acquired through unity. And at African Unity Conference 2023, it was one of the best that we've had to date, starting 10 years ago at the Laventil Technology Center, which is not too far away from where we are now. It's been an amazing journey, but again, we don't think of it as we've just completed a task. We just had a victory. We just enjoyed a measure of success. That's not how we think. We're thinking, okay, based on that achievement, what are we going to do to continue moving forward? And this morning, 1 week later, we start cycle 4 of the George Padmore Boys Academy at the Kwame Ture Center. This will be our 31st session. with our young men. This morning from 10 o'clock, of course, from 10 o'clock, we provide free breakfast for the boys. And then from 10:30 sharp, we start our sessions of motivation, of discipline, of life skills, conflict resolution, education, respect for women, staying away from guns, staying away from drugs, staying away from gangs, avoiding violence, resisting negative peer pressure. This is our message to the youth. And so with the same momentum from last week, we continue this week. So you have a choice. Either bring out the young men or send the young men. And I have to say, over the last few sessions, last one being in, it would have been just before Eid, I think first week in April or so, more and more, not only parents, but from time to time, we have more and more girls attending, and we do not and will not ever restrict the attendance of girls who want to be a part of the sessions. That's fine. That's fine. But we would, have specific activities. Of course, the Girls Academy is functioning a little bit different to the boys. Instead of the regular weekly schedules for prolonged periods of time, the Girls Academy tends to have more specific events and occasions. Different approach, but effective in the same way. But we feel very passionately about this, so we have purchased uniforms for the young men, some beautiful, good quality, dry fit polo neck jerseys with the Kwame Ture Center logo on them. And, well, we got about 60, and I think almost all are given out so far. We have to get some more. So, young men, we look forward to seeing you. I know many of the young men aren't up listening to the radio at this hour, but people, come on. And of course, our Sunday lecture series continues. Because, listen, last weekend was so moving. We had Juma on the Friday. We had our guests come in, Minister Dennis Muhammad of Guyana, who gave the feature address on Sunday for the Sunday weekly lectures at the Kwame Ture Center, 11 o'clock, every Sunday morning. Brother Dennis Muhammad came with a family of, in all, it was 9 or 10 family members from Guyana. He was one of the guest speakers at the African Unity Conference. We had other guests from Guyana. We had guests from England, from the United States, and from Jamaica. And I mean, they enjoyed Trinidad. They really, really, really enjoyed Trinidad. You know, and I have to say, of course, goes without saying, I love my country. Let me say special good morning to Harvey Boris, who came out as well. It was great to see you out at the African Unity Conference, Brother Harvey Boris. Not only do I love my country, like Harvey Boris, but I'm proud of my country. Because we have here some really remarkable infrastructure. If this sounds strange to you, well, I don't know what to say to that, but we have some remarkable infrastructure in this country. The waterfront buildings, that recent pattern of buildings that former Prime Minister Patrick Manning was on a pathway to not just creating to beautify Port of Spain, but it was also I understand, part of former Prime Minister Patrick Manning's vision to not filter and siphon all of the wealth of this country into the hands of an elitist 1% who, it is understood, boast about their control over our economy. That's not a right situation. That's old colonialism that we need to be liberated from. And so some of these buildings in Port of Spain, the Ministry of Education building on St. Vincent Street, the Ministry of Legal Affairs building, I think that's on Richmond Street or Edward Street, the Ministry of Finance complex on Ryson Road on the waterfront. Now, I know some of these buildings were opened fairly recently, but many of these started, they were the brainchild of Patrick Manning, and it's believed that's one of the reasons they summoned him to have this election, to try to control that about him. And I think our politics today is missing that kind of foresight. You know, I always tell the story about when I saw Jerry Nares in Jamaica at the airport, and, you know, we had this conversation about Mr. Manning, and I telling him, you know, I appreciate him so much more now, as we do with many leaders. You know, after they're gone, you appreciate them more. But if Trinidad and Tobago, and in particular Port of Spain, if they'd continued on that trajectory of putting the wealth back in the citizens' hands, empowering the taxpayer. Now, I know the taxpayer is under severe pressure. And again, one of these days, beloved, one of these good old days, I'm going to talk about CLECO. Not the challenges that they went through in times gone by at this so-called collapse. But one of these days soon, because I have so much information on it, it's just properly sort it out. But it's a very sad story, and you can say what you want. I am saying that it's a very, very sad picture when you look at the broader picture. That CLECO and the whole rationale behind them naming that company Colonial Life in response to the mockery of black people from the Caribbean. This idea goes back to 1927 with Mr. Dupre and Mr. Sabayan. And their response to the mockery being made of black Caribbean peoples as colonials, that they decided to call their business Colonial Life, according to Professor Selwyn Ryan in his book on black entrepreneurship. And the relentless, aggressive, almost kind of bloodthirsty lust to destroy the legacy of what two great African men pioneered as a financial institution. In that book by Professor Selwyn Ryan, he also makes reference to the speech by our first president, Sir Ellis Clark, for the Diamond Anniversary, the Diamond Jubilee of the so-called Penny Bank, the Trinidad Cooperative Bank, the first black bank in Trinidad and Tobago, and how it has been, of course, filtered into what is today First Citizens Bank, with the merging of National Commercial Bank, Workers Bank, and Trinidad Cooperative Bank. And now you have First Citizens Bank, which appears on the surface to have long lost any kind of connection as a black-owned or an African bank. Totally distant from that identity now. But what I want to talk about soon is how we have now what will be described as a local white minister of finance who has been entrusted with our economy, fine, but who does not seem to have an appreciation for the legacy of a black-owned and initiated financial institution in this country that stands in history. Now, there was a former, I'm not sure if he was a UNC politician, but he was definitely a UNC-selected governor of the central bank, Iwer Rambarat, who has an interview. There's a short clip that was taken out of an interview with him, and I'm sure he did not realize what he was saying. But in this short clip with this interview, he's talking about all types of other stuff. But he talks about his first interaction as governor of the central bank with the new Minister of Finance, Coleman Bird, when he came into office. And according to what Iwer Rambarat said in this little piece, if I could find it, I will, but it's buried under so much information that was sent to me. He is saying basically the first meeting that he had as governor of the central bank with the new Minister of Finance was based around one thing: the destruction of CLICO. And again, from him describing it, there was like anger, rage, storming out to the meeting. I need to get the details on CLICO. We need to really embarrass a black legacy. Now, of course, that's not what he's saying. I'm telling you the perspective that I'm looking at it from. But this public sale of those assets that were owned by CLICO, especially in light of all of the bailouts. And there's another strange thing. You see that narrative I did recently when they came out attacking Foster Cummins? And I spoke about all the millions, hundreds of millions, that were owed by Ram Kirpalani, Dave Kola Singh, Mohan Jaikaran, Lenny Saith, a whole lot of Indian businessmen who had millions of dollars in debt, hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. That was all forgiven. Now, when I spoke about that in defense of Foster Cummins, a lot of people picked up on it. But I first used that narrative in defense of CLICO, where a lot of people who took notice of the information when it was about Foster Cummins did not pay any attention to it when it was about CLICO. And the fact that CLICO was allowed to sink and suffer, destroying the only black legacy of its kind, while so many Indian businesses were saved. Why is it that we can only think when it's political? You see? But that story is a sad one. We'll be right back.
Issue. Why are you doing your supporters that? Playing games with the senior citizens in this country?
Real situation.
It's our lot of people involved in white-collar crime. And why are they not being brought to the forefront?
That something is happening in this country that is so strange, that is puzzling me. I'm trying to figure it out.
If the police have cause to arrest you for evidence based upon evidence and investigation, is it whose fault it is that it happened to the UNC people?
Stick a pen. Call a good afternoon, my friend.
Heavy conversations with the relevant authority.
Should the bandit have on a body cam so I can believe you? Members of your family shooting this one, shooting that one, taking your car. Should there be a body cam for me to believe you?
They have to live with the tongue because that is all the good for.
All right, Dr. Maraj.
The best crime plan can be put forward, but if we don't turn to God, we doomed. We in problem.
Or on the street.
The street. And who them depend on when the poor man cries.
We bring it direct.
Does anybody hear?
Hardcore. The street. 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street. 919 FM.
Turn your lights down low and listen to the Master's Radio. Get in touch with God Radio.
You are invited to join Pastor Morris Johnson of the Church of the Firstborn Assembly Miracle Center, located at number 399 Eastern Main Road, Guayco in Sangre Grande, for the Old Time Gospel Hour Family Radio Ministry every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Trauma and bereavement. Also every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Law and You. Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Dealing with disabilities. And every Friday evening from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. All night prayer live on the street 919 FM. Designed with you in mind. This program deals with today's issues from a biblical perspective. You will also be given the opportunity to call in and interact with us. Micah 6:8 says, He hath showeth thee, O man, what is good, and what doeth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly and to love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God. Your financial support through the First Citizens Bank would be greatly appreciated. Account number 795-2222. For further information, call 753-1113 or 236-7271.
Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
All right, so welcome back. As I was saying, I'll be speaking about that sometime soon, because we have to have some kind of sensitivity towards the inspiration that is contained in some of our biographies of great black achievers. And that Clico story and the way that everything was seized and sold in a way that others have been spared, and what the Clico story represents is, it's a sad story, and I think the least conscious of African politicians would have still been sensitive towards that and maybe put some kind of stopgap there. But like I said, sometime soon I want to deal with that. But an important factor that comes to mind here, that a point that I've been making, and just before I open up the phone lines, two things I want to say. real quick. One, recently there have been a lot of conversations about racism in Trinidad and Tobago, and this whole talk about racial prejudice between Africans and Indians goes both ways. So, do African people make racist statements against East Indians? Yes. Do East Indians make racist statements against Africans? Well, we already know that, yes. But there's a distinct difference between the two. And that difference is that when African people make racist statements against East Indians, normally it entails factors such as ignorance, illiteracy, or job insecurity, as was the case 100 years ago with the Trinidad Working Men's Association when East Indian indentureship schemes began in Trinidad. But when East Indians make racist statements against Africans, we see a completely different kind of pattern. So whereas the statements that are racist by Africans towards Indians can in many ways be linked to a lack of education or a belligerent attitude or just straight up ignorant behavior, when it comes to the Indians making racist statements against Africans, you find that it is doctors, lawyers, judges, professionals, politicians, like the Senator Harry Mungelsing, who said as a solution to crime, black women in Laventille should have abortions. Like the Dr. Sao just a couple of weeks back, talking about we don't want any Negro nurses, and making the most derogatory statements even about Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. Like the head of the police authority who said too many Africans in the police force. And that other high-profile lawyer who some had as a choice for president of the country, talking about too many Africans. All of those school teachers on record, on recordings, making all those racist statements against African children. School principals, heads of education boards. So it's as if the African racism comes from down low, but the Indian racism comes from up on high. And if we can, within the African community, sensitize our people to the importance of harmony among different racial groups, then we have to ask the question, what do you have to do to stamp out the racism from East Indian doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs and politicians and judges and medical professionals? Because that pattern is too consistent. You would hardly find African people in those kinds of high society profiles making statements like that. You would hardly hear any African politician that we have making any statement, as it was said, in rationalizing not supporting the CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice. The UNC said in 2005 that, well, there are no Indians on the panel of 6 judges. Which black man do we have or black woman do we have in our politics who will ever complain about not having enough Africans, or even there being too many Indians in a particular profession? African people in those kinds of professions simply don't speak like that. They don't think like that. But it is a huge problem with the East Indian doctors and lawyers and judges and entrepreneurs and school teachers and principals who think that way, because many times African people, in particular African children, are under their care and under their responsibility. It is black women many times who have to go to doctors who think like that. It is black people who've been victims of injustice who have to stand before magistrates and judges who think like that. It is black people who may be seeking employment who have to go before entrepreneurs who would hire employees who are thinking like that. So all racism, discrimination, bigotry, intolerance, xenophobia, prejudice, segregation, apartheid, and stratification, all of it has to be stamped out. But it's coming from two different zones of the mind among the different ethnic groups, but all of it must be condemned. And that is an honest conversation that we have failed to have. You hear a black person talking about the C word, chances are he's either drunk or angry or just silly, frustrated, powerless, probably unemployed. But you hear East Indian people talking the same way? That's your doctor who's going to check you and recommend that you have an abortion. Or that's some banker or some decision maker to decide on whether a loan should be granted to you. That's scary. But again, a major part of the problem with consciousness among African people is that only when it is in the bracket of politics do we lift our voices. Outside of that, it's like we're terrified to speak the truth. And I am certain that this is an observation about us that is made from those who look at us and figure out ways of how they can manipulate us. I'm telling you, it's a shame. There are many injustices that African people could face in this society that there's no one in the realm of politics who would lift their voices in condemnation of it. But at the same time, there are certain minor injustices that members of the Syrian or local white community would suffer. And there will be a chorus of black voices in the parliament speaking out, representing it. And that whole Brent Thomas issue was a classic example of that. One white man wrongfully arrested. And it's like it's the talk of our parliament for almost 3 full weeks straight. You might as well have a banner and a bumper sticker on the back of your car saying, "Justice for the white man. We want justice for the white man. Justice for the white man." That's what y'all are saying. Subconsciously, you want justice for the white man, while you ignore all of the injustices to the black man and black woman in this society. What, and are we just cool with it? But when a politician faces some form of injustice or racial discrimination, we're ready to find our voices now. But not for our people, only for the politics. That is a bad precedent. So let me open up the phone lines. 342-0081 and 466-5391. Let's go to the phones. Caller, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Excellent Hakim Mohammed.
Walaikum salam.
My brother. Before I go, Brother David, wherever my people are gathered, even though you don't see me there personally, I am there. Wherever. I wasn't able to come Saturday because of the night driving. I can't drive when it get dark. That's the reason why I wasn't there. In person, but I was there. I'll always be there. Wherever our people are gathered. Consciousness. One of the things is that the black and African girl, Gabriella, is a classic example of how these politicians operate. This young intern was denied completion of a medicine of being a doctor. Whereas the Indian girl who lied And it was proven that it was a lie she told. This Indian Minister of Health said he said he went down to St. James Infirmary and stayed there for 10 minutes and looking at the security with the head down in the phone, you understand? And so that he using that as justification to say, you understand, that I don't know why. I tried to tell it, you understand, because she lied and said she get robbed. So what that has to do is she lied and saying she get robbed and he went down there. But he do that to say, here what happened, you can't spend all these millions of dollars and let her go just so after 6 months she could come back. So she, you understand, has finished her intern, and the African girl, Gabriella, you understand, end up driving taxi or something. But anyway, you know, sometimes when I meet African women and we get into discussion, it doesn't want to end, you know. Something about the consciousness of the African woman, where our people are concerned. I had a discussion, and I say it's an idea I will give to you. I had a discussion with his sister down at African Trophy. I went there sometime this week. I tell him, yeah, I've been there for a long while, so let me go inside of there. Went inside, and I didn't reach as further than the door. Get into a discussion. It was so beautiful. You understand, with that sister. So I'm saying that to say that it will run to me that sometimes some of those guys in their academy must be encouraged to go down to the African Trophy and see Africa and what our people has done, our culture. But David, you know, something that has hit me. Every time African people open their mouth to say something, where any other race is concerned, you know what you always say? My Indian brothers and sisters, my Chinese brothers and sisters, we are their brothers and sisters, but they are not our brothers and sisters. They never say that. But we always making an excuse, you understand, for something that they did to say. You understand that, you know, we're not racial or we are mean so. But they don't care about you. They say it. But they are not our brothers and sisters. We say that they are our brothers and sisters. I just started thinking they were making these sort of excuses. You understand? I want to make an next point. The next point is that I had such a nice discussion with his sister. Yeah, I'm there. And then got into a conversation with 4 brothers. The last 4 brothers, African brother David. And I remember the Uber woman, when disgust and rejection, they just troops and walk away. I didn't do it. Because I was trying to show, we was talking about the gun. I was trying to show them that, listen, the gun started from the days at the Western when we used to buy guns for our children. It was important to buy 2 guns and a sack for your child at that time. You understand? Not conscious of what it is, what the gun salesmen were doing. They were promoting violence because the cinema was violent. You go inside the cinema and they shoot down all the Indians, they kill one another. That's violence. You understand? So that violence now has creeped today into, you understand, this society. Because what happened at that time, nobody understood television is certain. One television in the area, everybody going to look at it. You understand? But that has grown into the violence because the biggest arms sale today is guns. They use the guns when they went into Africa to conquer. You understand? So all this is, you know, they couldn't understand what I was trying to say, Brother David. But anyway, let me leave them alone. You understand? I saw there was 2 sisters on the television the other morning. One from England, Belle Adi is her name. That's the one who stood up and asked the Prime Minister if he's going to apologize for slavery. Right? And there was another one from Trinidad, Uju Annie. You understand? She said she's in America. She said that she's dealing with.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM.
Bruce Wayne and Sexy Flex bring to you the return of Love 4. Let Love Flow. It's going down on Saturday, 3rd June 2023 at the Police Mass Long Circular Road in St. James. Your entertainers for the night, Nigel O'Connor and Mauricia Kagan.
Hey guys, this is Nigel O'Connor.
And this is Mauricia Kagan. And on Saturday, 3rd of June, we will be at
The Return of Love 4 at the Police Mess, St. James.
in St. James. See you guys. Will come on down? It's going to be nice.
Dr. Ross.
Yo, this is the musical surgeon, Dr. Ross. I will be there, The Return of Love 4, Saturday, 3rd of June, at the Police Mess, Long Circular Road in St. James.
DJ Stretch, Sensational Sammy, Kabuki, and Digital Dice.
Hey, this is Digital Dice, King Kabuki and myself. We will be at the Return of Love 4, Saturday, 3rd of June. Hey, Police Mess, don't you miss it.
Hosted by Bruce Wayne and Sexy Flex. The Return of Love 4. It's been too long. Time to let your love flow.
We all there.
And the man where they can go from. It's a vibe in the session when we jam into the steel pan.
The steel pan, the only musical instrument invented in the 20th century, is a reflection of the perseverance and innovativeness of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which have always been central to our development as a nation. And the steel pan story epitomizes this, carved out of life and struggle and determination, rising out of the spirit of the African drum. The steel pan stands today as evidence of innovativeness, creativity, and passion for life integral to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Kwesi Paul. I am your host, inviting you to join me each and every Sunday from 7 to 10 p.m. for the Evolution of Steel Pan Show, live on the street, 919 FM.
Better Deal Supermarket, number 70 Arangwes Road, Sawan. Always a better deal. Goat stew, $22.99 per pound. Lamb stew, $24.99 per pound. At Better Deal Supermarket, Nestle milk, 1 liter, 2 for $24.99. Oasis water, 330 ml, 5 cases for $89.99. At Better Deal Supermarket, salmon fillet, $22.99 per pound. Coke, 2 liter, 2 for $19.99. Cricks 2 for $26.99. Much more in store for you at Better Deal Supermarket, number 70 Arangwes Road, Sawan. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to see more. Offer runs till June 12, 2023. Always a better deal at Better Deal Supermarket.
Better Deal Supermarket, boy!
Calling all primary and secondary school students. Tune in every Saturday at 12:30 p.m. for our Young Leaders of Tomorrow segment, where we open the lines and test your knowledge on current affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. Sponsored by Starbucks, Dave Service Station, and Guppy's Service Center Limited.
This is a blessing again coming out from Yard Kitchen. Yeah. So we thank God we live to see another day. Yes. So today Yard Kitchen is shouting out. Yeah. We say we have the oxtail pizza. We have the jerk goat pizza. We have the brown stew chicken. The brown stew pork. We have the jerk chicken. We have the festival. We have everything at Yard Kitchen come out on a Saturday. Also, yeah, we have the soup time. Yeah. We have it. Red pea soup. We have the lamb beef soup. Yes, we have all soup. You come at Yard Kitchen. If you come, you get it. Come down with me. We have it.
Yard Kitchen TT, located at number 12 Victoria Avenue, opposite Tranquility School, Port of Spain. They're open from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day for dine-in or takeaway. Call or WhatsApp us at 336-3442 and follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. For more info at Yard Kitchen TT.
Yard Kitchen TT for that authentic Feds Jamaican flavor.
Them say we don't know how to marry, we just they worry.
This Father's Day, show your dad how much you love them by entering our Songs for Dad giveaway on the street 919 FM. When you hear the Father's Day ad play, get ready to call in. You have 30 seconds to sing one song dedicated to your father. The most entertaining rendition wins. Be one of 20 people to win loads of prizes for your dad this Father's Day on the street 919 FM.
Happy Father's Day to every man where they fight for their responsibility. Happy Father's Day to you.
Sponsored by Carib. It's the way we play.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Bruce Wayne and Sexy Flex bring to you the return of Love 4. Let Love Flow on Saturday, 3rd June 2023 at the Police Mess, Long Circular Road, St. James. Tickets $100 single and $180 couples. Get your tickets at The Street 919 FM, number 56A Marvel Road. The Police Mess, Long Circular Road, Casey Cool, Movar, Candy Crush, Carenage Fish Fry, Faouk Barbershop in Movar. You can also call Bruce Wayne and Sexy Flex at 340-2016 or 388-2271. It's been too long. Time to let love flow.
Life must be lived, not spent. Ace Adult and Kid Care Services provides immaculate home health care services while maintaining a safe and fun environment for both the elderly and children in their Tobago or Trinidad homes. Collectively, with more than 25 years of experience in the caregiving field, our staff includes caregivers, nurses, and doctors on call 24/7. Our services include, but are not limited to, deodorizing, disinfecting, bathing, dressing, light meal preparations, grooming, and post-operative care. Need a caring team and reliable services for your loved ones in their homes? Then look no further. We're the ACE. For more information, contact us via email at aceadultcare@gmail.com, online at www.aceadultcare.com, or call us at 263-4567 or 281-4567.
Catch all your favorite shows live on Instagram.
Yeah, we're live on Instagram.
The Street 919 FM. What are you waiting for? Go check us out on Instagram today.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282. or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. So there's a need for brotherhood. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how in the hell could you know and be in the shape that we're in? How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory. I feel that every man that wants to speak should have the right. And if you think you know it better, get on up and get on and do the job. But if you don't know what to do, and all your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize, but you have no works to show the rightness of your philosophical adherence, then maybe you should rethink your position.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. And we're going up to 9 o'clock, and in a short while from now, we'll continue to take your calls. Now, beloved family, I want to review something that I spoke about at the African Unity Conference last week. And this is a very important lesson for us, because we have to be able to check our history and identify patterns in the struggle that could guide us towards where we need to go in the present. So part of having knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is connecting the past with the present and using both the past and the present to plan a future. If there's no connecting of the dots in between, then we're lost. So we spoke about some African political history. And I want us to see the pattern in this. Now think, beloved. 10 great African leaders that you must know about. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Sekou Toure of Guinea, Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria, Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, the great Nelson Mandela of South Africa, Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, Idi Amin Dada of Uganda, and Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso. All 10 of these great leaders have magnificent biographies with certain consistent patterns or trends that we need to identify. First of all, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana was the first president of an independent African nation within the New World. But in order for him to step out and break those chains of colonialism, he had to face so much pressure, and the Europeans hired persons to infiltrate his movement, spy on him, and attempt to overthrow him. The great Nnamdi Azikiwe was the first president of Nigeria in the New World. And in 1960, with him rising to glory, it caused us to look back on some of his history, where as far back as 1936, Azikiwe was a journalist, and he wrote an article entitled, "Does the African Have a God?" And he was challenging these patterns of white supremacy, where he said, but look, if all of the prophets of God were born in Africa, Jesus was born in Africa, and Abraham and Noah and Solomon and Moses were all Africans, how come all of the images of them are white? Now, he was charged with seditious language, arrested and imprisoned, but later became the president of Nigeria. Sekou Toure of Guinea, and remember Kwame Toure, formerly Stokely Carmichael of Trinidad, who popularized the phrase Black Power, took the first name of Kwame Nkrumah and the surname of Sekou Toure of Guinea, and formed the name Kwame Toure and started the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. But Sekou Toure, who wanted to become independent with his country, Guinea, they were threatened by President Charles de Gaulle of France, who said, if you go independent, we will cut off all aid, all ties, all access to any kind of assistance whatsoever, trying to intimidate an African nation from going independent. And Guinea, of course, was the first of many of the French colonized or Francophone nations that became independent. Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, again, a leader among his people. He cut ties with Belgium and with the other Europeans. They arrested him, spied on him, executed him. Just like Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, who was in Kenya at the time when Elizabeth of England became Queen Elizabeth. She was also in Kenya. And Jomo Kenyatta, who became the first president of Kenya, was charged with being part of the Mau Mau, which was a movement within Kenya that was trying to stop the British from stealing African lands. Again, beaten, imprisoned, arrested, put on trial. We already know that Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison fighting against apartheid. We already know that Ethiopia, along with Liberia, that were the only African nations never to be colonized, that Ethiopia, under His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, was bombed by Italy under Mussolini, and they used mustard gas and tear gas and all kinds of chemical and biological warfare in the mid-1930s against Ethiopia because of the strong stance of a black man, Emperor Haile Selassie. Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, who wanted Africa to liberate itself away from European pharmaceuticals and drugs and medicines. Again, they accused him of being too distant from the Europeans. And again, Europe funded a movement to overthrow him and kill Thomas Sankara. Idi Amin Dada of Uganda, one of the most demonized leaders in all of world history. Idi Amin actually joined the British military and became a soldier and learned the military strategies of his enemies and then used his knowledge of the military to liberate his people. And then they make all kinds of films and write all kinds of books against Idi Amin. And they ran him out of his country through the infiltrators into his movement. And he lived in exile in Saudi Arabia. And Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, who clearly within recent times has been the most demonized. Robert Mugabe simply said, okay, the Europeans came into Africa, they stole African people's land, they acquired land from Africa that they never paid $1 for. We as a government want justice. We're taking back the stolen land that the whites took, and we're giving it back to the Africans. And just with that kind of consciousness in government, they launched a slander campaign against Robert Mugabe and demonized his name. Now, you think of these 10 African leaders: Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Ndamne Azikiwe of Nigeria, Sekou Toure of Ghana, Patrice Lumumba of the Congo, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, Idi Amin Dada of Uganda, and Nelson Mandela of South Africa. Many of them the first presidents in their country, and you will notice a trend. The trend is that all of them were loved by their people, but were hated, spied on, in some cases assassinated by the Europeans. What does that tell us about those who stand up for justice and liberation for African people in political office? It appears that there's a culture of fear to go against whatever Europe says. And it is as if we are afraid of our own liberation. And it is as if many of our Caribbean leaders are programmed to be afraid of truly representing their people. And that lesson must stand for us. We may be familiar with who those individuals are, but we may have never connected the dots before. So, let's go back to the phone lines. You're listening to The Black Agenda on the Street 91.9 FM. We're taking your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, morning. Morning,
yes.
brother.
Good morning.
Well, you know, there's one of my pet subjects. Morning to your listeners, morning to your viewers.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've always said that part of reparation is the defending of our leaders and our scientists.
Yeah.
To blow it out in the open that we are fed up that every time our great leaders rise up and our scientists rise up and our philosophers rise up, they just die. It is obvious, David, and the
Why do
vilification.
people stand by and look?
Yes. And while we are tricked into thinking that who we go and kill bad, This is the devil. The devil coming and telling you God is the devil, as paraphrasing, right? And you believe in the devil, and his God you go and kill and you rising up against. You know, this can only be challenged with a certain amount of discernment and understanding and memory.
Yeah.
You know, you need to have memory and
institutional memory.
Say again?
Right. Institutional memory. The knowledge has to be passed on to the next generation.
Yes.
That's
but
why
you
we're
must
running
be
the
able
George
to
Padmore
discern.
Boys Academy.
You must be those historical events that brought the demise of our great leaders that preceded us, our great African leaders. The history of it must be recorded, and you must be able to identify what it looks like here now. This now we're dealing with here. That is why it is important what you do in terms of reminding. But it's not just to revere the past and how great they were, but we have to revere our present and apply what we have learned from there and see how it is working here now, Brother David. That is what my contributions this be about. You know, look at how the fellow who invented a helicopter, a car, and I think it was a television, and they cannot see how it works. They're not knowing how this helicopter, in terms of he absolutely have it flying independently of fuel and everything, operating by frequency, and that is very close to the ancient technology. And the one thing, they tried to kill him 3 times, a little black boy. Never even went to university.
Yeah, well, so many black inventors, so many black technicians, pioneers in so many different fields of human endeavor have been either assassinated or they simply stole their creations, from music go right down. All right, thank you so much, caller. Caller, good morning. Are you there?
Yes, morning, brother.
Yes, sir.
I think you need to expand that list to that top 20.
Of course.
There are people like
there are so many more. There are so many more.
You have people like Savimbi, Nairi, Anwar, Sadat, and so on. And the reason, and Sadat is particularly important because Sadat was the first black Egyptian to head that country. You understand what I'm saying? And that was a significant intervention into their politics. Right? And
Caller, you're breaking up a bit. Okay, your line is terrible, not hearing you at all. You could try to call us back, all right? Caller, good morning.
Brother Mohammed, greetings.
Greetings.
Brother Mohammed, I heard you spoke about Mr. Manning.
Yes, sir.
Brother Mohammed, I was selling on different radio stations. I'm a Mr. Manning PNM, dead or alive.
I hear you.
Because I do not support the former Prime Minister, and I do not support Dr. Rowley. Brother Mohammed, look how much things the former Prime Minister and Gary Griffith got rid of that Mr. Manning left there. And Dr. Rowley come at the end of the Guana team and get rid of CNMG for them. Remember you told me the story when the UNC came in power, they interfered with the GATE program? And you said you thought when the PNM came in power, they were going to put back the GATE program how it was before.
How Mr. Manning had created it, yes.
And the PNM left the GATE program how the UNC had it. Mr. Manning and his own people treat him like a dog. His own PNM people treat him like a dog. But I'm Mohammed.
Yeah.
But Mohammed, I would leave it there.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate your call. Not quite our subject, but I do appreciate your call nonetheless. Caller, good morning.
Hey, morning, brother. Calling back.
Yes.
I mean, we're here, yes, no.
Yes.
So I was saying, right? I was saying, in terms of the 10 you identified, these men, all of them, with transformational leaders. And you know, if you want to, if the lesson you want to learn and have our so-called black leaders here in the Caribbean understand is what it means to be a transformational leader. And if you take it into the contemporary sense, you have the great work being done by President Kagame of Rwanda now, and coming out of the horrors of the Rwandan genocide 28 years ago. You see where Rwanda is now, where it's heading, right?
Although, I mean, Rwanda right now is the leadership of Rwanda are under a bit of scrutiny with their agreement to that
yes, I was not going to talk
immigration
about
plan
that.
with England.
Right. Yes, that you know, and a saying to me,
God alone knows how they arrived at that, but basically, England have come to an agreement with Rwanda that persons who violate their immigration can be deported to Rwanda.
Yes.
No matter what part of the world you're from, you violate England's immigration laws, you go to Rwanda. I don't understand it.
Yeah. That is to me, that is the biggest blot that has kind of undermined all the good work that has been done up to that point.
It's weird.
You know what I'm saying?
It's weird.
Yeah, and you know, it goes back to neo-colonialism, but I guess the fine print in the details wouldn't be learned by us, but that was very disappointing, so you're correct.
Yeah.
That was very, very disappointing. You know? But great series, and I'm saying that, you know, more of the biographies of this man, well, I know in your institution, these things will be there. But this is what will give people a sense of identity, a sense of self, to show that, hey, we have achieved, we continue to achieve, and we can. And this is where we need to point the direction to if you want to change people. You know what I mean? And particularly our young black men. So, great intervention, brother. Locked on listening.
Thank you so much, sir. And as we mentioned, those 10 great African leaders, I want to pay tribute to another 5 great African leaders. And I am saying this now, I said it before on this radio station, but mainly on social media, because of the high levels of censorship that were on during the pandemic. Now, the World Health Organization has declared that COVID-19 is officially over. Now, apparently, our Minister of Health still has it in Trinidad as far as he's concerned, but the World Health Organization has declared COVID-19 is over. But I want to remind us of those courageous African leaders who opposed the usage of these vaccines. So the pandemic is over, okay? So the censorship should also be over on anyone saying anything about it. But I want us to remember President Pierre Nkurunziza of Burundi, who died on June the 8th, 2020 at age 55. He, as president of Burundi, opposed the COVID-19 vaccines. He mysteriously died just months after. President Ambrose Delamy of Swaziland died on December 20th, 2020 at age 52, mysteriously after condemning Africa using these COVID-19 vaccines. You have President Hamed Bakayoko of the Ivory Coast, who died on March the 3rd, 2021 at age 56, again, mysteriously after condemning Africa using the World Health Organization's COVID-19 vaccines. You had the great President John Magufuli of Tanzania, who died on March the 17th, 2021 at age 61, mysteriously after opposing the COVID-19 vaccines. Not only did he oppose the COVID-19 vaccines, but President Magufuli actually said, okay, all of us are sending these tests to these European labs. He falsified items. He sent plants, he sent animals, he sent extracts from fruits and vegetables. And then the World Health Organization sent back saying, okay, this person has COVID, this person has COVID, this person does not, this one doesn't, this one does. And after he got those results, he declared to his country, he said, I sent false samples to the World Health Organization, and they sent back bogus results, lying to us. He declared that to his whole country of Tanzania. And he was mysteriously killed within a couple months after that. And of course, we have our brother, President Jovenel Moïse of Haiti, who was assassinated in July 2021 by a team of Americans and Colombians. Again, we know that there are several issues going on in Haiti, but President Jovenel Moïse was also one of those African leaders that opposed the COVID-19 vaccines. So you put 2 and 2 together, and you can add these 5, Pierre Nkurunziza, Ambrose Delamy of Swaziland, Hamid Bakayoko of Ivory Coast, John Magufuli of Tanzania, and Jovenel Moïse of Haiti, and you can add them to Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Sekou Touré of Guinea, and Damne Azikwe of Nigeria, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, and Haile Selassie, Nelson Mandela, Robert Mugabe, Idi Amin, Thomas Sankara, all of them. And you tell me that it's a coincidence. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Oh, very good morning, my brother.
Oh, good morning, my beloved sister.
Yes. Listen, I have to say, too, I have learned a lot about Farrakhan. I was present at the lecture there, and I was glad. A remarkable man, 70 years working for his people, doing so much. I was really appreciative of that lecture I was present at. Listen.
Yes.
What you spoke about earlier when you started, about the people who would say racial things.
Yeah.
And the bitter venom that you hear from some people and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is so very true, but most frightening in the medical field. Up to yesterday.
In all the fields is frightening.
All is frightening. All it is, definitely. Don't ask for law. Don't ask for in matters of the court and all of that and law. But I heard on another frequency there where people calling in with this program and so on. And you always hearing people talking about they didn't find their records and they can't find their records.
Yeah.
And you hear all these things coming from African people, neglect in the health places. So that is terribly, terribly worrying. What we have to look at what happened to our brother Bill Cosby.
Oh, and so many others.
And so many others. After how many years this woman come in and they...
All right, sorry about that. Not sure what happened there, but you got disconnected. But yeah, to build on that point, so there is racist conversation from Africans to Indians and Indians to Africans. The distinct difference is that when African people make racist statements, it's normally out of ignorance or illiteracy or stupidity. It's a kind of low-life reaction to whatever frustrations they may be facing. All right. But when East Indians make racist statements towards Africans, it's doctors, it's lawyers, it's professionals, it's senators, it's entrepreneurs, persons who have to take medical care of us, persons who would decide on cases in law, persons who will be employing. And that is a frightening situation. Who could deny that? Who can deny that? Caller, good morning.
Blessed morning to you, Brother David.
Greetings. You'll have to speak up a bit.
All right, you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Well, I want to congratulate Mr. Dennis Francis, our ambassador to the United
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
on appointment as the President of the United Nations General.
Yes, sir.
This because it's 193 nations we're coming down because everybody, and then you let me say the world powers, all of them want to hold him by this hand and that hand and here. You was watching and whatever. But I hope that he set the agenda for the United Nations for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Most of on poverty, bringing people out of poverty worldwide. If you are watching, because this is what you're dealing with worldwide and especially in Africa. It's just as how good there is going all over. You go in Africa and see for yourself what is going on. Go in these places and see for yourself. And concerning the Security Council, don't tell you set the agenda so that these warmongers stop the wars. But it's what's going on right now. You see in Trinidad and Tobago, I want people to understand that we here have a lot to play in the future.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Brother David Mohammed.
Good morning, sir.
I don't know if you recognize this voice and who's speaking to you.
It sounds familiar, but I think if you continue, I'll figure out who it is.
This is the guy they call Mr. PNM. My brother.
How are you, sir?
I'm okay, sir.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but I decided to sit in the pavilion a little bit because what it is I'm seeing and hearing, it kind of sometimes hurt my heart because this program is about educating, developing, edifying and all of that of the African race and all of that, along with many other things, right? And it sometimes pains me to see, no matter if you have at this course or you do find that an African brother is doing something like, like going on a path you want him to go, that some people could come on a radio station and degrade an other African brother. I am not standing for that. We might have our differences in our families, but as my grandfather always taught me, don't wash your dirty laundry in public. Because these are things that other races where we have a multi-ethnic society as Trinidad and Tobago, other races use that against us. When you spit out a dirty word is something you cannot take back. Right? And, I just would like to say, Brother Muhammad, I've been always listening to you. Sometimes I decide not to call in because that a certain caller calls us now, and this is the kind of people that turn my stomach because you know what? Despite what faults other political parties have, do a survey in this country, you'll never hear East Indians calling and blast their people like that, whether leadership in politics and law and whatever. They always defend their people. And this is where we African people need to be. We need to love and defend our people because the struggle against us is real. Right? I would also like to say thanks, Mr. Francis. I would like to say that, I appreciate what you have done and where you have reached, and we must congratulate him in a very special way this morning. Right? So, Brother Mohammed, I'm Mr. Payne. I'm locked on and listening. Right, and you continue the good works. I always with you. Don't worry, sir.
Well,
Thank you so much.
It's great. Huh? It's great to hear from you after all this time.
Yes, sir. Don't worry.
It's good to know. It's good to know that you're well, and you sound in good spirits.
Yes, sir. No problem. And I always listen to your program. Sometimes I decide not to come in because I don't like the idea of, the guy, a caller who called in our car a while ago and said he will leave it there. The negative things that we have been saying. Because Dr. Rowley and Mr. Manning is two different sort of leaders. And what Dr. Rowley had was to do for this country
And the timing you have to do it is a different timing for what the other leaders had was to thing. But I'm not in the thing of bringing down my African brothers under no circumstances. We look for the good in one another and we try to uplift them. And where they go wrong, we try to deal with it, but not wash our dirty laundry in public. But I'm Mohammed, good show as usual. I'm locked on and listening.
Thank you for your call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Assalamu alaikum, brother David. Well, nice program with
you have
this morning on the radio. But here we go. You know, fact checkers, right? Say that with them 5 leaders who died first, they didn't die because of posing.
Yeah, well, that's what they tried to say. Yeah. So the simple question is, was it a coincidence?
Yeah, well, funny thing that fact checkers, one of the main financiers is Google. Funny, eh? And I forget another financiers who they finance them, right? And another thing, people have short memory. This same Patrick Omomoa president, right? Do you remember in his time, the head of UN was killing a plane crash?
Yes.
So supporting him, I was going to hit his country. So the man who called and said he
that was 1994, but that was a bit of a different era.
Yeah.
You know.
But people congratulating the new head of the United Nations and say, well, people impose this and impose that. He has to jump and follow through their program. Only he can go and say this and that because he can end up in a plane crash. No.
Oh my God.
He has that.
Brother.
Yeah, no, really, be real.
I hear you.
The people don't know he has to jump and follow through these people's agenda. The United Nations will be sponsored by a certain group of people and you see them operating just so. Israel break all the laws. I'm going to do to them.
Yeah.
All the laws of Jovenia, everything Israel breaks with Palestine. I'm not one thing that is against them.
Hey, listen. So speaking of Palestine, did you see that Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent has a team of Palestinian doctors over in St. Vincent, and he said, he wants to establish ties with the Arab Muslim world and to do more business and so on. Now that is a bold move, because you know who will disapprove of that? America and Israel.
Yeah,
Ralph Gonsalves has always been a kind of revolutionary, you know.
Yeah. And Brother David, it's other countries doing the same thing as well doing, and immediately United Nations.
Yeah, they're bombing them right away, sanctioning them right away.
So people in Trinidad and Tobago, yes, we congratulate him that he is the president of the assembly, but here going on, he can only do what them tell him to do. And say what them say to say. He might have an idea, but he's up to push that idea. He can end up in a plane crash. Look out and listen.
All right, my brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, man. Let me give you the numbers again. 342-0081 and 466-5391. You're listening to The Street 919 FM. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, listen to me. The first caller was mentioning about the young African doctor that the ministry held to Mr. Dialston fire. Yeah. I see nobody coming up and doing anything about it. I hear Mr. Wendell Eversley had some meeting. I don't know if it was concerning that
I salute him for that. I salute him for that. I did say that.
Yes, but we have to follow up on that. We are no black lawyers to represent banners. Nobody coming and saying anything. Look, they get here a slap on the wrist now, Mr. Mohammed.
Well, we have a black attorney general, don't we? And so many officials in high capacities who have the authority to come down on that doctor for doing that.
Yes.
I mean, the only power that we have is not just people to march and picket and protest on the pavement. What about those in high office? What about parliamentarians, government ministers, cabinet members, officials in the judiciary? Is it that we are here on the street level to put them in office, and when they get in office, that they can turn back to us and say, well, how would it look if I stand up for this? And how would it look if I stand up for that? Listen, you know how much African people in politics I have had come to me and openly confess that they cannot support what I'm doing publicly because there are persons financing operations that they're involved in who would not like it.
But that has to stop, Mr. Mohammed. We are really stand up and do something about that. But look at what's going on. Nobody is mentioning that. That young African doctor, the other nurse lied, and she ended up getting back at work, and Mr. Diasim sit down there and say that he doing nothing. He are not supporting that. Because why he come out and do something and let the African doctor woman who the fire, it's saying some little petty thing, why didn't give her back a job? That is real discrimination, and that's going on for years. The same thing happened in medicine in university when Mr. Dr. Tirai was there. Every time an African person going to get to study university, he blocking them, he blocking them, and that's continuing too long. We really have to do something about that. I totally agree with that. I'm very upset about that. And it's time we as African people stand up. If we have to protest, let me protest. Let me do something. Make sure that black woman get back her job.
Yeah.
We can't allow that to continue, and nobody's saying that Mr. Jackson sit down there and he's doing nothing about that. He has to come out and do something.
Maybe one of the reasons Mr. Diagsing isn't taking it seriously is because his superiors are not taking it seriously.
Yeah, but look, Dr. Rowley, the white Dr. Rowley come out and say something. The same thing happening with the United Nations Declaration of African People.
Well, we have a year and a half left out of the 10 years.
Yeah, but we can't wait until that year, because if we wait until that year come up.
That is why we, the Black Agenda, are continuing to move forward regardless, not waiting for any check, not waiting for any funding, not waiting for any handout, not waiting for any special favors to run a boys' academy, to give lessons to the youth, to give seminars, workshops, to do training, to do our agricultural program at the Kwame Ture Center. We are celebrating our own decade for people of African descent. As a matter of fact, this is our lifetime for people of African descent. So
yes, we have to do something.
They could do what they are not doing. We have to continue doing what we are doing.
Yeah, Dr. Mohammed, next year is the last year thing.
Right, that makes no difference.
And
whatever the government says about it is not going to face me.
Nobody in the government is saying nothing about that. Look in the Caribbean, in Grenada, they do something. In some basin, they trying to adjust it. Even in England, why in Trinidad, nobody is trying to do nothing about that. We Dr. Rowley has to address that. He has to address it. I find he saying nothing. He has to come and address that.
1 week suspension.
Yeah.
Listen, if that was a first world country, he would lose his license.
Yeah. He lose his license. Nothing could have lose it. He would have done lose it. You understand?
3 years
he would have done lose that. You understand? The kind of thing Dr. Sal say about black people. Yeah, but he's a millionaire and he getting and he going back there. They just getting a slap on the wrist and gave him a week suspension. That is totally, the medical board is a racist board too, you know, because most of them comprise are Indian and they're racist against African people. You understand? I'm saying that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Beloved.
Yeah.
All right. And it's like, listen, we could write a whole book about conscious African persons who have political ambitions with very good intentions to do great things for their people. And when they get into office, eventually, finally, they will tell persons who got them there, listen, if I stand up for this cause, it would look bad. If I stand up for that cause, it wouldn't look good. If I represent justice for the people, it will come across like I'm biased. If I stand up for black liberation, they'll call me racist. And we are so worried about what other people do and think and say. Meanwhile, none of them are intimidated against standing up for their causes for justice. So, beloved family, this is where I start to wind down for this morning. Remember, I'll be back on next week, Saturday, inshallah, but stay tuned to my social media pages for more information on multiple other forums. Remember, Kwame Ture Center Boys Academy this morning. We're starting back at 10 o'clock. Free breakfast for the boys. And then at 10 o'clock, and then our session starts at 10:30 sharp. And then tomorrow morning, I'm lecturing at the Kwame Ture Center with our weekly lecture series, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. every Sunday. Stay tuned to the Street 919 FM, and may Almighty God Allah continue to bless you. As I greet you in peace, Assalamu alaikum.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?